As always, greetings to all of you. I'm so glad we're doing these together. Lesson number 35. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Well, we need to take a look at that. First of all, what actually does holy mean? Because the ego doesn't really know anything about holy. It can be sanctimonious, but not holy. So holy means deriving from or belonging to the divine. In other words, I am an expression of divinity. So it says, my mind is part of God. It's like I am an expression of God. And obviously God being divine, the expression of God has to be divine as well. And it starts out saying, and of course, this does not describe the way you see yourself. It describes the way you will learn to see yourself as you keep making these changes with these lessons. And then it says a very obvious thing. It's difficult for anyone who thinks he's in this world to believe this, yet we think we're in this world because he does not believe it. You will believe that you're part of where you think you are because you surround yourself with the environment you want. In other words, we do not have to go into how it has come to pass that we earnestly believe that we are a separate self, unrelated to anything, a small little person in a great big world that probably doesn't care much about us. It doesn't matter where that came from, but it matters a lot what we're going to do about it. So the surroundings in which we seem to find ourselves, and we call this our world, and these other lessons before this have been trying to tell us, and we're making this up, by the way, we want a world that's made up of gazillions of separate, seemingly unrelated things, because that's what we think we are. So this image of ourselves, or I can say myself, as a separate piece amongst lots of other separate pieces that make up the world, this construct is seen through the eyes of the image of the body-mind. Now, you remember earlier we were told that the body's eyes don't actually see anything. They put stuff out there to see and then says, look what I see. I see this dog, or whatever it might be, a fountain pen. But the image puts that there as a separate object and then says, I see it. But it then reassures us what this process is that our body's eyes are doing doesn't really make any sense, because images cannot see. They make up things. And then it says, today presents a very different view of yourself. It most certainly does. It says, we actually are an aspect of God / love. What I am is an aspect of love and nothing less and nothing in addition. So by establishing that I and you and everything are part of the impossible to grasp eternal and infinite mind of God, that tells us what we really are instead of the ego mind that we've made up. And it then says all of our earlier lessons have been talking about what we have seen, what we have perceived. There's a lot of talk in the earlier lessons about what we see and what we think are the same thing, and some of the lessons start with seeing and then move to thinking. Some start with thinking, then move to seeing. But it's all about what I'm experiencing insofar as what I think is out there. Now we're going to talk instead about whatever it is that's doing the perceiving. Okay, and now our lesson for today. 3 5-minute periods. And always, as it says, anytime you need it in between, close your eyes, think about this lesson, and then think about situations that you're in. It could be at work, it could be in your personal situation, but from just recognizing how you live your life, start to describe yourself. In other words, it gives us a list. I see myself as imposed upon. I see myself as depressed. And you can add all of your own. I see myself as being excluded. I see myself as not being appreciated. I see myself as a big liar, whatever it is. And it says just notice this, and notice that you can mix up the positive and the negative attributes, and it doesn't really matter that they're all mixed up because they're all basically irrelevant. It says, I see myself as this. That's not who I am because my mind is part of God's. My mind is an expression of love. I am an expression of love. I am very holy. Now, I want to talk about that word very because it's really unnecessary. You're either holy or you're not. There's no such thing as somewhat holy. You're either an expression of divinity or you're not. I think the reason very is in there is simply for the flow of the sentence, because if you say, but my mind is part of God, and then to say, I am holy, sounds a little abrupt. So throwing that word very in there gives a little bit more grace to the sentence, because it doesn't make sense to say, I'm partly holy, I'm very holy, I'm only a little bit holy, you're holy, period. And it asks you to use the form stated above. This is how it ends it. Use the form of, I see myself as fill in the blank. There's a reason for that I believe is so, and that is, I told you earlier that it's trying to bring us back into the observer position, and this does that as well. It's saying, I see myself as fill in the blank. I am the aware, conscious, aware observer, and I'm watching and observing this ego self believe all these things about itself. So there is a difference between the large observer I that's doing the observing and the myself, the little small fictitious self to whom all these attributes apply. Okay, this is a really important switch where we're now moving from what is perceived to what the perceiver is, and ultimately the characteristics of the perceiver. That's you and me. We are the perceiver. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you practice. I hope you begin to see this is part of the big, everything we believe is 100% off, and we're trying to get us back to the absolutely opposite perspective, that instead of being a little unimportant nobody, I am an expression of eternal, omnipotent, infinite, eternal love. That's a big switch. Have a great day. Bye.